One would be like a lack of proactive communication. So if the advisor is reactive rather than proactive, I mean, I've said this 1,000 times, that's not doing you any favors, because failing to anticipate your needs or not even noticing how your company is growing and changing as time goes on. I mean, you need somebody that is looking around the corners, who is trying to anticipate what's going to happen next as your business and your organization grow and change. Because the last thing that you want is surprises, and especially if it cuts into your budget pretty significantly. So you want someone who is proactive rather than reactive. Or if you just don't have an advisor who's doing any sort of plan design review, all they do is show up, they go over the investments, and they leave. That's probably not the position you want to be in, unless this is something that you do all the time. If you're an expert in retirement plans, maybe I'm wrong. If there is no plan design review, though, I would say the plan is probably not living out its purpose, or you're just not getting the most out of it that you could be. Compliance issues. If you're encountering compliance issues over and over again, obviously that's a problem, both from a regulatory agency perspective. It could be because the plan's not well constructed, but I would guess that there's something going on behind the scenes. So your vendors are not all matching up. Your providers can't flow information back and forth. There's a breakdown in the operations. Data is not being submitted when it needs to be so that testing can be performed, or so that profit sharing can be done correctly, those types of things. And that's where you want to lean on your plan advisor to say, you got to help me fix this. We are too small for this person to have all of this stuff on their plate. So how could we make technology handle it? Or maybe, we're way too large for this not to be working accurately. So what do we need to do as far as our plan design is concerned so that we stop having these problems over and over again? Poor plan performance. You as the plan sponsor are deciding how and if your plan is successful. And so if you don't have those measurements of success, that's going to be a problem. So how do we know if the plan is performing well? Or if you do know what those success marks are, like you have low participation rates or high turnover or indicators of employee dissatisfaction, those are going to be a problem. You're definitely missing the mark of the performance that you want out of the plan. So if the plan's not meeting the goals that you've set out. Lack of tailored solutions. This is another area that we see over and over again, where it's clear that the plan was kind of sold to the organization more like a, would you like fries with that? Like a lot of times the payroll providers come in and they say, oh, you can have payroll. Oh, would you also like a 401k? We've got that here. Would you like fries with your hamburger? That happens a lot. What also we see is, hey, we've already figured out all of the check boxes for you on the plan design. This is the best thing you should do. Here it is. Instead of, let's talk about your specific needs. Let's talk about your employee demographics. How should we shape this plan for you? So if it's kind of a one size fits not very many people, that's not great, especially if it's not taking into consideration your company culture. So if you just end up with a plan in a can, in other words, that's an issue. Failure to talk about or implement best practices. So going back to what I said before, if they're not recommending or implementing proven strategies at this point, or at least keeping you aware of how the industry is viewing things, what the newest research says, that's a problem, because you don't want to be caught off guard if somebody else comes in or one of your employees comes in and says, well, why aren't we doing X, Y, Z? And then the last is just a lack of expertise. So we're no longer in that paradigm where you can be a wealth advisor that also manages retirement plans. Most of the time, you just don't have enough time as an advisor to be an expert in both areas. And so make sure that you're working with somebody who demonstrates that they have the knowledge in the relevant areas and on the relevant issues. So that's ERISA regulations, it's plan design, it's best practices, it's being able to look at the plan holistically rather than here's just the investment lineup and here's a financial wellness program and a high five.